get the chat in here. Read only. Cool. Comments. Show. We're going to hide that. No, I missed a comment. Let's hide that. All right. Let's see. This is going to be a deep one. But we're going to dive into it. All right, we're going to give it a few seconds. Make sure the YouTube's working. There we go. That's cool. That's cool. We here. Right. All right. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Happy Saturday. My name is Emmanuel Pierre, or you can also call me Coach Pierre. For people that know me personally, they know me by Manny, Teddy, or E. However you guys feel like you need to call me to make yourself comfortable, go right ahead. I am your certified empowerment life coach, focused on discipline and confidence. But this month we're doing things a little bit differently, just in the celebration of childhood trauma awareness month with my sis coach Stephanie, who is a trauma coach. The topic of today, it's a heavy one, right? You didn't deserve the pain, but you deserve the healing. What do I mean by that? We have a level of guilt, shame, and personal responsibilities that from trauma that was handed to you that you didn't deserve, especially as a child. We're going to try to go as deep as we could possibly can within the next hour. If I have to do a part 2 to this, I will do a part 2. Not a problem at all. But within the next hour, we're going to dive into understanding the myths of it was my fault. We're going to try to dive into the weight of inherited pain, the shame, the silent script that controls the adult life. You know what I'm saying? Certain things. We're gonna dive into a lot of it, right? So if you are watching the replay of this, please be sure to like, comment, subscribe to the YouTube channel, subscribe to me on Facebook. Make sure you guys are following me also all social media platforms, Instagram at Kingofselflove 6, Mind Your Mental Podcast on Instagram. Make sure you guys are following me on here for clips of these live streams that we do. Quick shout out to Remy TV. Shout out to Remy for the hoodie, valid in real life, and shout out to Alki God for the necklace. You know what I'm saying? We're here to support our people, and we do our best. So make sure you guys go check them out. Get your merch, get your accessories. You know what I'm saying? We're here to support as much as we possibly can. So just to start with this, right? When you hear you didn't deserve the pain, you know what I'm saying? The first thing that comes to your mind is you questioning yourself, right? Did I deserve the pain? Did I not deserve the pain? I'm telling you right now, you didn't deserve it, right? A lot of the things that we deal with as adults, we struggle with because of our childhood, because of the things that we experienced as a kid. And we don't realize that the effects that it can have on us moving forward. So we are going to dive into that aspect of understanding that none of this is really your fault, right? So when we start this, I just want you guys to remember what we're releasing today is guilt, shame, and personal responsibility for things that had nothing to do with you. No, do with the trauma that you yourself inherited from your man, from your mom, dad, and like your guardian, your caretaker, the person that took care of you, the person that raised you. You know, you weren't handed all this trauma. You were handed all this trauma, but you don't have to hold on to it anymore. Now, when we talk about the myth of it was my fault, right, it goes a little deep because the thing about children is they blame themselves. Um they blame themselves, right, on the beliefs of them, the things that the beliefs that they follow that go into adulthood, like the way that they were raised, what I'm saying, the things that they were taught, the way that they were treated, they thought those things were okay. Now, children do not blame themselves, okay? Because they're guilty. They blame themselves because it's safer than the reality, right? What is the reality? The reality is the people that brought you into this world that you thought you could depend on weren't emotionally safe, consistent, or present, right? So they try to they don't want to deal with the realism of what the situation is because they don't know how to handle it, right? They weren't taught how to handle it correctly. So they just blame themselves thinking that they did something wrong. You know what I'm saying? Like they'll say the phrase like it must be me. I'm the one that's doing this, I'm the one that's causing the problems. You know what I'm saying? But it's safer to do that than to say that the person that brought me into this world, the person that's supposed to take care of me, the person that's supposed to love me, couldn't protect me, couldn't nurture me, or they chose not to stay. Now, I myself never experienced this, so just know that um, I'm just bringing the knowledge behind this. Right, this is not my lived experience. I wanted to put that out there because I had both of my parents in my life. Even after the divorce, I had both of my parents in my life. So, um, till this day, if I so chose to have the full relationships with both of my parents, I have both of them in my life. So this is not my lived experience. I'm just kind of giving you guys some knowledge behind all of this. So the logic of a child, right, is a survival tactic. It has nothing to do with um blaming the person that took care of them. It's not about blaming anybody that might have caused the trauma, right? Because a child's logic doesn't have emotional maturity, right? They just have survival tactics. They pay attention and they adhere to what they see and what they do so that way they can survive. Um, you know what I'm saying? If you look at adults today, right? Um, would they have trauma wounds, trigger wounds? You know what I'm saying? They have a sense of limitation and they have blind spots to a lot of things, right? In regards to like emotions, in regards to trust, in regards to honesty and support. Like they have a blind spot to these things because their lived experience is them not having that as a child. So when it comes to things of, when they get into a situation or they hear a situation where parents are yelling, parents are screaming, arguing, fighting, all the rah rah, right? When they're hearing that, or they deal with the abandonment, or there's a level of emotional distance between the parent and the child, right? Or there is a level of neglect towards that child, right? Instead of the child thinking, you know, it's the parent that's causing this, it's the parent's fault, they blame themselves. They immediately their brain will immediately default to I must have done something wrong. You know what I'm saying? I must have did something to make my caregiver or my mom or my dad upset. You know what I'm saying? Because if you really think about it, for a child, right, to be like, I must have done something wrong. It's hard for them to come with to the realization of, the caregiver, the parent, the guardian, the person that's taking care of them. They can't really keep them safe, right? You know what I'm saying? Or they don't value the human or the person that child is. So that child in their head thinks my needs don't matter in this house. My need, things that I want, things that I require don't matter in this household because it's shown in real time that it doesn't matter, that they're not valued. They're not really cared for, you know. Um when children have a level of trust issues towards adults, towards anybody, right? Is because they're afraid that the person that they're afraid that the person that caused the hurt, right? Whether it's mom, dad, brother, sister, cousin, aunt, uncle, grandmother, grandfather, whoever raised them, right? They're afraid that that person might hurt them again. They're afraid that the person might hurt them again, and it creates this thing, a trust, a level of trust issues. Welcome in. It creates a level of trust issues that children can have against not only their parents or their guardian, but as an adult, they don't trust friends, they don't trust relationships, they don't trust people, right? Because how can I trust people around me when the people that I'm supposed to trust, the people that I care about, right? The people that raised me, I can't trust them. I can't trust them to nurture me. I can't trust them to support me. I can't trust them to love me. I can't trust them to see me, right? I have to continue a performance just for them to see me, just for them to recognize me and realize that I'm here, just for them to realize that I'm valued. I'm supposed to be valued. You know what I'm saying? You brought me into this world. Why are you not taking care of me? I didn't ask to be here. But yet I'm the one being neglected when I didn't even ask to be here. There's so many things that go in the child's mind, but the child immediately their first thought process is to blame themselves. And that's not healthy. That's not healthy. It's not fair to them either, that they have to blame themselves for your mistakes and your lack of ability to be a parent or be a caretaker or to be loving and supportive and to not abandon the person that you brought into this world, right? Or to neglect the child that you brought into this world, or to not have meaningless arguments and fights around the child so that way they don't blame themselves, right? To remove the aspect of negativity and chaos out of the household so that way that child can feel safe in the place that they lay their head. Fun fact, it's not a fun fact, but it's fucking ridiculous, that the most unsafe environment usually is the place that a child lays their head, because that's where they get in trouble, that's where they get yelled at, that's where they, what I'm saying, that's where all the arguments happen, that's where all these things are happening, right? So one of the most unsafe environments for children is the house, because the parent makes it unsafe because of the way that they handle things in the house, right? That's why I always tell parents, if you're gonna have a conversation with your children, go outside the house, take them out to eat, go for ice cream, do something, right? Take them out somewhere that's not in the home. The home's already uncomfortable as it is because that's where they get disciplined. So it's not safe because if they do something wrong, they get in trouble in the house, right? If they do something wrong, their punishment is they have to stay home. They're grounded. They're imprisoned in the house because of whatever situation happened, or the way that they reflected on, the way that things are being reflected on, right? Think about that. The way that we discipline our children sometimes can feel like they're in prison. So be mindful of all of that, right? So the survival logic. A child would hold on to all of that, right? Just the fear of not being loved, the fear of being neglected, the fear of being abandoned, the fear of the arguments being their fault, right? They'll hold on to that fear and they'll trade that for they trade that truth of what it really is for emotional safety. So they rather be safe emotionally than deal with the realization that they had nothing to do with it and the person or individuals that are raising them don't deserve to be raising them or don't have the ability to be to be the parent that they need or the guardian that they need. But what happens what goes on with the guilt though when it comes to children? Children have a tendency to feel guilty. Hold on, I got this on my screen. It's a red light. I don't know what that is. The children have a tendency to be guilty or feel guilty in regards to certain things that happen in the world. One second. I think there's a glare. Let me get that glare real quick. One moment. Yeah, that glare was crazy. I was wondering where that was coming from. All right. Back to the conversation at hand. So when it comes to the guilt, right? It gives that child the power of imagination, of illusion, of creating things in their head that aren't real, right? Because they're not being told the truth. For example, in a child's brain, in a child's mind, they will say things like, if I caused it, maybe I can fix it. Or if I behave better, maybe they'll love me different. Or if I can be perfect, maybe the chaos can stop, or maybe the chaos will stop. If I can be perfect. And we all know there's nothing in this world that's perfect, right? Nothing. Not me, not you, not your child, nobody. Nobody's perfect, right? But that's the thought process of a child. If they can just perfect every little thing, right? They don't have to worry about being yelled at. They don't have to worry about getting in trouble. They don't have to worry about being grounded, right? They'll never get in trouble. The house wouldn't feel like a prison, right? The house don't feel like they're doing 25 to life, right? So, you know what that creates when somebody uses guilt as a shield? Oh boy. Let's start with the people pleasing, right? They will create any scenario that they could possibly create as an adult, right? To make sure that the person that they're trying to get attention from or seek attention from or seek validation from is a-okay, no matter what they got to do to make them feel a-okay, right? People pleasing, hyper independence. I don't need anybody. I don't need nobody. I don't care what anybody said. I can do everything myself. I got me. I don't need nobody to help me. I ain't nobody to help me pay my bills. I don't need nobody to help me do this. I can get this done by myself. I can get that done by myself. I can do this by myself. I can do that by myself. Yeah. Your parents caused that. Unknowingly or knowingly. I'm gonna put that out there. Unknowingly, unknowingly. They caused that. Right? Having to walk on eggshells, not feeling comfortable around anybody, not knowing if what you're gonna say is gonna cause some type of argument or fight, right? You trying to be yourself might make somebody feel uncomfortable, so it makes you feel uncomfortable. You know what I'm saying? Like you're doing things to just ugh, like you really gotta like watch your maneuvers every time, right? Overachieving is another thing. Trying to be perfect at everything, right? Trying to be perfect at everything. Trying to make it seem like failure is not an option, right? You can't fail, right? You gotta get everything 100% every time. Can't miss, right? You gotta hit 3 point. You gotta hit your 3 pointers from the. You gotta hit your 3 pointers 100% of the time. You gotta make sure you don't miss your layups 100% of the time. You gotta be on point for every single thing. But what does that look like though, right? You know what I'm saying? To have to be perfect, overachieving, to be perfect at every little thing. Like you telling me everything that I do, I have to be perfect at. I gotta do everything perfect, right? That sounds crazy. Let's be honest here. That sounds crazy. To have to do every little thing, everything that we touch, everything that we do, everything that we experience, everything is perfect. The way that we dress, the way that we eat, the way that we brush our teeth, the way that we shower, the way that we have relationships, the way that we have friendships, the way that we work, everything has to be perfect. That has to be draining. That has to be draining, right? But that's what happens when a child uses guilt as a shield throughout their whole childhood, right? And then they become an adult. Overachieving becomes one of the things that they look towards because they feel like they have to be perfect to be seen, to be heard, to be acknowledged, right? So that way they're not neglected, so that way they're not abandoned. They feel like they have to be perfect. So they do all of these things so people can support them, so people can love them, so people could see them. That's unhealthy, right? Self-silencing, right? Not using your voice because you feel like you're gonna offend somebody, right? Not saying how you feel or not saying what's on your mind because you feel like the person's not going to hear you, the person's not going to understand you, the person's going to debate your thought process, your opinions, your ideology, right? They're going to try to make it seem like what your thoughts are wrong instead of acknowledging them, recognizing them, listening to understand, and probably helping you process your thoughts, right? They try to combat you, they try to fight you, they try to argue with you, right? That's unhealthy. That's unhealthy. You should be able to vocalize your thoughts without being defensive, without trying to be on the defense. You should be able to speak your truth without having somebody try to fight you and argue with you about what your truth is. You know what I'm saying? Because your truth is your truth, no matter what people think. Your truth is your truth. So don't feel guilty. Don't feel guilty about speaking your truth, right? It takes some time. It's gonna take some work. Ugh. If this is something that you've struggled with throughout your childhood, like the things that I'm talking about, not being seen, using guilt as a shield, having to be overachiever, having to perform, because this is all a performance, guys. If you haven't noticed, all of this is a performance. So if you felt like you have to perform for your parents' love, for your guardian's love, for your family to see you, for your friends to see you, for your relationship to be seen in your relationship, if you have to perform just to do these things, then you're not in a healthy environment. You're not in a safe space. You're not in a safe place. If that's what you're doing, if that's what you have to do, you shouldn't have to perform for love. You shouldn't have to perform to be seen. You shouldn't have to perform to be supported, to be acknowledged. Right? It's not healthy. It's highly unhealthy. But it's not your fault. None of this is your fault, right? But it is your responsibility to heal from. None of this is your fault, but it is your responsibility to heal from. So we need to kind of dive into that, get on that journey, right? Start recognizing that a lot of the traits and the things that you inherit or you allow to become your norm stem from things that you didn't experience as a child. So you try to implement it into your adulthood without recognizing that there's a healthy way to do it. And the way that you're doing it is not healthy. He's actually counterproductive of what healthy looks like. So, um, let me see. Where are we? Becoming the strong one. Now, I've always debated this, right? And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. If I'm not, it is what it is. I always thought being strong didn't have a capacity, didn't have a level of limit to it, right? Because I've always been that person that everybody came to for advice, everybody came to for conversation. Like, you know what I'm saying? I've always been that person. So I with dealing with other people's energy and then dealing with my own energy, I didn't feel like because I didn't feel like I needed a capacity because I was so strong, right? Until I realized that my strength had a capacity. Until my strength almost put me in the hospital because I was always trying to be there for everybody and my energy and everything was just depleted. I felt sick to my stomach. I felt exhausted all the time. I was just tired. I was drained mentally, emotionally, physically. I was drained. I just didn't feel like myself. And that was because I was taking on shit that had nothing to do with me. I was taking on everybody else's energy, everybody else's problems, everybody else's situations, and it was draining. You know what I'm saying? So becoming the strong one or being the strong one, um, if you are gonna take that route, and it's not a healthy route, I'm gonna let you know that now. But if you are gonna take that route, just be mindful to recognize what your capacity is. Know what your capacity is so that way you're not overstepping over yourself. Forget about everybody else, right? I'm not worried about everybody else. When you have your capacity, when your cup is full, then you're good, right? Then you have an overflow of what comes out of your cup to delegate to people that you want to delegate it to, give it to who you want to give it to. But the moment that that overflow is done and it starts to start trickling down from your cup, that's when you need to know to stop, right? You should never provide anybody the energy that comes from your cup because it's not for them. That cup is only for you, so that way you could be able to maintain and operate on an everyday basis. But if you start providing people energy from that cup, you're gonna end up like me in the hospital, tired, drained, exhausted, because I'm giving more than my body's capable of giving and my mental's capable of giving. You know what I'm saying? So just be mindful of all of that when you're trying to become the strong one, or you feel like you have to be the strong one, right? Don't do that. Make sure you have enough for you first before anybody else is involved. You know what I'm saying? Um, Becoming the peacekeeper. Listen, just don't do it. Okay. Being the peacekeeper is not as fulfilling and exciting as people claim it to be, because most of the time we deal with unhealthy individuals. Okay. We deal with unhealthy individuals. A lot of unhealthy individuals will try to pin the problem on the peacekeeper, the person that's trying to maintain the peace, the person that's trying to see both sides, the person that's trying to be neutral, right? The person that doesn't want to choose between friendships, right? It's a person that holds everybody accountable versus just holding one person or another, right? Never want to be that person, because that person is literally public enemy number one, because now you're not choosing sides, so they don't know if they can trust you or not. They don't know who to trust. They don't know if they can trust you or whatnot on either side, right? So if they can't blame each other on the situation or circumstance, they're gonna blame you. You're gonna be the one to blame, and now you're fighting an uphill battle that has nothing to do with you to begin with. Yeah, nothing to do with the situation from the beginning, but because you involved yourself trying to be, as we say, Captain Save a Ho, you put yourself in a situation that had nothing to do with you, right? When you're dealing with the guilt, we're still on guilt. When you're dealing with guilt, right, it feels easier than your heart being broken, knowing that the person that brought you into this world, you know what I'm saying, did something to hurt you. They yelled at you. They made you cry. You know what I'm saying? They blamed you for something that had nothing to do with you. You know what I'm saying? They made you responsible for somebody else's problems, right? For people that have siblings, right? You ever had a sibling that did something wrong and then you got blamed for it, right? Or vice versa? Or they got blamed for it because of something that you did wrong. You know what I'm saying? Like certain things like that. When somebody's shown more love and support than you are, you know what I'm saying? So when that happens, right? A child would create thoughts in their head on why this person acted the way that they acted. I'll give you an example. Maybe mom was stressed. Maybe mom was tired. You know, maybe dad yelled because I did something wrong, right? Maybe if I stop crying, they'll stop fighting. Like they'll literally blame themselves for something that had nothing to do with them. You know what I'm saying? And the truth is that they just couldn't show up the way that they supposed to show up for you. They didn't love you, not in the way that you deserve to be loved. You know what I'm saying? They were dealing with, they still got their wounds and their traumas that they're dealing with, and I can't do nothing to fix that. That's why I tell parents it's your responsibility to fix your traumas and your triggers before you bring somebody into this world. And if they're already here, then you need to be working on that now more than ever, instead of raising a child in your trauma and having all these problems and having all these issues when they're growing up and they're starting to recognize that mom is really not the person that she's supposed to be, or dad's not really not the person he's supposed to be. They're literally like a shell of themselves. You know what I'm saying? Like they're a shell of themselves, and it's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot of energy. It's a lot of things that need to be taken into consideration. But parents, it start with you, right? And if you're a child of trauma and you're a child of inherited trauma and you have a child of your own, so not only do you have to deal with your trauma and the things that you've experienced in life, but you have to deal with the trauma that was inherited to you by your parents. So you have double the work, okay? Because you do not want to have your children inherit the things that you inherited, and on top of that, inherit the things that you're going to give them because of the trauma that you dealt with. None of this, none of this, anyone deserved. Not one person. Not you, not your parents, definitely not your children. You know what I'm saying? None of you deserve none of this trauma, none of these things that you're struggling with. Right? Our parents did what they could, they knew what they knew, and they did the best with what they had. Right? We have more resources and help now, and when we were becoming parents, right? To get us where we need, but we chose not to ask for help. We thought asking for help was a weakness, and it's not. Asking for help is strength. Being able to know that you met your capacity is powerful. You know what I'm saying? Knowing that you met your capacity and you're able to vocalize that you're at your capacity, that you no longer can do this and you need help is powerful. That's when the work starts, is when you acknowledge that you actually are no longer capable of handling stuff on your own. And you know that the way that you're operating is not healthy and you need help and you need guidance. We got people that can help. I'm here to help. You know what I'm saying? I'm here to help. I know I got a friend, I got a brother from another mother, Coach Derek. He's a self healing journey coach. I have a sister from another mister. I have Stephanie, who's also she's a trauma coach. You know what I'm saying? I have people that can help with these process. You know what I'm saying? If you need the guidance, if you need the support, um, just be sure to either shoot me a message. You know what I'm saying? Message me on Facebook, message me on Instagram. Let me know that you need help. Just say, Coach, I need help. Right? That's all I need you to write. Coach, I need help. And then we'll have a conversation. We'll have a consultation. We'll sit down and figure out if I'm the coach for you, or if I need to send you over to the correct coach. I'll send you over to the correct coach. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to try to take on something that I know for a fact it's not my lane, but I know for a fact that there's a lot I can help with, right? And I'll be honored to help anybody that's willing to want to put in the work. Not everything is cheap. Not everything is free though, right? Unfortunately, you have to. Well, not unfortunately, you gotta pay for what you want. You know what I'm saying? Because this journey is not free. Even this healing journey is not free. You know what I'm saying? So I can help you. We'll have that first conversation, and then I'll let you know if I'm the coach for you, and then we can start the process. If not, I can send you over to the correct person. But overall, we want you guys to be better. We want you guys to grow. We want you guys to see that there's more to what the trauma is. You know what I'm saying? It's not worth it, right? You know what I'm saying? So one of the things I see a lot of people doing, and you can stop me if I'm wrong, you can comment in the chat and everything. Um, but I see a lot of people holding on to the stories of their childhood, like all the trauma and all the pain and all the things that they experienced, right? Um, the childhood interpretation doesn't go away, right? It doesn't expire just because you grew up. You know what I'm saying? Because that sometimes, even as an adult, right, we blame ourselves for things that we shouldn't be blaming ourselves for, because it was part of our lived experience of us blaming ourselves as a child, right? So if we haven't worked on understanding our beliefs or our belief systems, right, where we're not blaming ourselves, okay, we're not blaming ourselves for things that we had nothing to do with. We're not blaming ourselves because our parents couldn't support us and love us the way that they were supposed to support and love us. It's not we if we're blaming ourselves off of that basis, then we're doing the wrong thing, because now we're still trying to cope with the things that happened to us as a child, right? In regards to that aspect. So it's like it's literally like a child in an adult body. A lot of the things that we deal with, a lot of the things that we show, right? Outside of the things that obviously adults are supposed to do, like work and all that good stuff, right? When it comes to your behaviors, when it comes to your language, when it comes to your belief system, when it comes to your emotional stability, your emotional maturity, all of it is literally led by your child, by your inner child. We just don't realize it because we've muted down and we've tried to ignore our experiences as a child. We tried to ignore the things that we've dealt with as children. We try to mute it down, right? So that way we don't have to deal with it, we don't have to think about it. But unfortunately, even muting it down doesn't stop it from being real. Even muting it down doesn't stop it from being real. Muting it down doesn't stop it from surfacing, right? When it happens in real time as an adult. Doesn't stop it from happening. Your trust issues and all the things that you deal with, it doesn't stop. It still happens, right? That trust issues didn't start from no bad relationship. It played a part, but most of our bad relationships started when we were kids, right? The relationship with our parents, the way that they loved us, the way that their actions showed that they loved us, the way that their actions showed that they lack support of us or to us, the way that their love showed neglect, but that's not really love. The way that they claimed that they loved us, but in certain aspects we felt abandoned. Stop me when I'm wrong. Stop me when I'm wrong, right? You know what I'm saying? The one of the things that we need to acknowledge, right? And this is such a myth, and I can't stand that people say this. Um, healing doesn't start with healing. When people say healing doesn't start with forgiveness, right? When they say healing starts with forgiveness, healing doesn't start with forgiveness. It starts with reframing your thought process. You know what I'm saying? It start with recognizing the things that you've experienced as a child was not your fault, right? At that moment, when as a child, you was not the adult, you was not the decision maker, you was not the person that was supposed to be you wasn't supposed to be the independent. You were supposed to be the dependent, right? You weren't the source of the pain that you experience now as an adult. That was not your pain to acknowledge and to feel. That had nothing to do with you. All you did was absorb it. All you did was absorb it. All you did was take it all in, thinking that it was your fault when it wasn't. It wasn't your fault, right? But you have to reframe that. You have to change your mindset on that. You cannot blame yourself for something that you yourself had no part in. You were just there, innocent bystander. That's it. All the yelling, the fighting, the arguing, the neglect, the abuse, the abandonment, all of that stuff that you dealt with as a child, you were just there, right? Your parents, guardian, whoever, like I said, knowingly or unknowingly, all of this happened. If this was your lived experience, you know what I'm talking about. You may have muted it down so that way you don't think about it throughout your day or just overall, but your behaviors and your actions reflect all of that, right? Not only that, but it probably reflects in your parenting. The way that your mom parented or your dad parented, right? Because you thought it was normal as a child and you didn't work on it and recognize that it was the opposite, you start doing these same exact things with your children and maneuvering the same exact thing with your same exact way with your children. And it just continues the cycle. It just continues the cycle. It's just a chain of effects. Just more generational trauma building every generation. Mm, right. But as a child, it wasn't your fault. But as an adult, it is your responsibility to reframe your mindset, right? As a child, all of this was not your responsibility. All you did was create a story that made life feel survivable. You were just surviving as a child. But as an adult, we cannot live in survival mode. We need to acknowledge all of it, gather the tools that you need to control it, to maintain it, so that way it does not become your lived experience as an adult. Go to therapy, get some coaching, be honest with yourself before you step into any of those assisted lifestyles, right? Before you go to coaching and therapy, be real with yourself with what you're struggling with, right? As a child, with all the things that you've experienced as a child, neglect, abandonment, not being heard, not being seen, being silenced, saying a child has to stay in a child's place, all of these things that we've experienced as a child, right? It wasn't your fault. You didn't cause none of this, right? It wasn't your responsibility to make you feel safe. It was your guardian, your parent, your person that brought you into this world to make you feel safe. It was not your responsibility to feel loved. That was their responsibility. You shouldn't have to perform for them to tell you that they love you, right? Because love is an action. If they can't show you by action that they love you and all they use is words, then words is not enough. Yeah, the actions show the love. If the actions show the opposite, then that's a problem, right? So we got 20 minutes left, right? I want you guys to ask yourself, when you think about these things, right? When you're talking about these things, when you're healing, right? I want you guys to finally start saying to yourself, these were not my pain. This was not my pain. This was not my responsibility, right? I don't have to carry this pain, this trauma. I don't have to carry none of this because this wasn't mine to begin with, right? I want you guys to be like, I know I seen what happened. I know what happened. They didn't they couldn't love me the way that I deserve to be loved. And now I acknowledge it. And I'm no longer blaming myself for something that I had nothing to do with, right? We're no longer going to use strength. We're not going to equal strength as self-sacrificing, right? We're not going to equal those two together. Not anymore, right? We're going to have some capacity to our strength. And we're going to start utilizing the word no when we reach the level where we're drained and we're tired. All that baggage that was passed down to you by your parents, your guardian, your caretaker, like I said, they did what they could with what they had, right? They didn't have the necessary tools that we have today in regards to mental health to acknowledge that they were doing things the wrong way. Because if you realize, right, our parents are better grandparents than they were parents. You realize, like, our parents are better grandparents than they are parents because something clicked in their head that they wasn't doing things the right way. So they start treating the grandchildren a lot better than they treated us, and we're just sitting there like, what the hell? I mean, they came to some realization. That's how you know a grandparent's really on point. Is when they realize that when they treat the grandchildren way better than their own child. You know what I'm saying? Like they show them more love, they show them more support. They you know what I'm saying, they cupcake. They give them the cupcake behavior, right? That's how you know. That's how you know that they realize that they didn't do the best job that they could as a parent, but as a grandparent, they do amazing. You know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna leave you guys with this because I know it's not an hour yet, but I'm gonna leave you guys with this, right? Childhood guilt isn't isn't proof of failure, it's proof of adaptability. It shows how desperately you wanted to be safe and wanted to be safe, have stability and love. Now that you're an adult, right? You don't need that shield anymore. You need truth, compassion, and healing. And you deserve all three. Okay? You need to embrace that within yourself. Truth, compassion, and healing is what you need to embrace. Right? And this healing journey. Because this healing journey is not easy, guys. It's a tough one, right? We struggle with it. We all do. We're human, right? We do it day by day. You know what I'm saying? Hour by hour, day by day. But everything is possible. Everything is doable. And you know that you deserve all the good things. You know what I'm saying? And don't think that you don't because you do. Don't let nobody tell you that you don't because you do. You know what I'm saying? People will be afraid of growth and change because they like to have a level of control for the person that's living within chaos. They like to control that person in a sense. But the moment that you stop living in chaos and start to grow and be better, right? When you start to grow and be better, people that want to control your negativity and your chaos can't control that no more, right? How many times have we seen people try to control the negativity within us, right? And how do they control that? They enable it, right? They give it life. They give it support. They cheer for it. They clap for it. Instead of telling you, damn, you shouldn't be moving like that or this is not healthy, right? They cheer for it. And then you just feed into it. And the negativity just feeds and it feeds and it feeds and it feeds and it feeds, right? You no longer have to do that. It's a choice. If you allow the negativity to take over, that's a choice. You know what I'm saying? It's a choice. You don't have to do none of that. And that's the crazy part about it. We make these decisions based off of how other people make us feel, not how it makes you feel. Because if you really sit down and think about how it makes you feel, you don't feel good. You don't feel good about it at all, like not even a little bit. But if you think about how it makes other people feel, and you see other people happy and cheering, and they're all excited about it, then it makes you feel good because they feel good. But when you're by yourself and you think about these things, you don't feel good anymore. You feel uncomfortable, tired, exhausted, drained, right? It's kind of like wearing a mask all over again because you're not doing it for you, you're doing it for them. You know what I'm saying? And when you're on this journey, your healing journey, right, you're going to have a lot of questions pertaining to the why. Why couldn't my parents love me the way that they were supposed to love me? Why did they neglect me? Why did they abandon me when I needed them the most? Why? One thing I'm gonna tell you about the why is if the person's not in an unhealthy, transparent state, they're not gonna be able to give you the answer that you're looking for. So unfortunately, looking for the why of somebody else, it's not even worth it. Just move forward. You know what I'm saying? Don't think about the why, don't think about the what if. Think about the how. How can we grow from this? How can we become better? You know what I'm saying? How can we not allow the things that happened to us as a child shape us as adults, right? How do I not allow my lived experience or my trauma and the trauma that was inherited to me to be, how do I stop it from passing down to my children? Well, you got to take a step back and heal. Like my brother says, my brother Derek, his platform, sit down and heal. You got to sit down and heal. You know what I'm saying? You got to sit down and take care of you so that way you could become better. It's important. It feels good over here, man. I'm trying to tell y'all. Like, y'all know, if anybody that knows me in real time, that knows me from Rhode Island, right? When do you ever see me on these group pages? When do you ever see me on Facebook crashing out or on in drama with somebody on Facebook or beef with somebody on Facebook or beef with anybody on social media, period? You don't see none of that. You don't see none of that. Why? Because I sat down and I sat my ass down and I took care of myself. Not just trying to do it financially and physically. I did it mentally, spiritually. I sat down and I took care of myself. I took myself out of spaces that didn't deserve my energy to begin with. You know what I'm saying? I removed myself from spaces that did not deserve Emmanuel, that did not deserve Manny, that did not deserve me. I moved out the way. And I'm talking about friendships that were like 3-4 years. Talking about straight through high school friendships, middle school. Like I cut a lot of people off because they just didn't deserve my energy. They were just on some bullshit. And that was just what it is. I didn't have to explain to them why I cut them off. I just stopped moving around and just stayed silent and disappeared for a little bit. Then I came back out. New man. Can't even recognize me. The way that I operate, the way that I talk. You don't really see me doing a lot of the things that I used to do. Don't party. You know what I'm saying? I don't do none of this stuff. Just chilling. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's the most important thing. It feels good over here. It's quiet. It's peaceful. I ain't gotta worry about no drama. Even if somebody has my name in their mouth, cool. You know what I'm saying? That's your opinion, not mine. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's nice over here. It really is. It's like it's peaceful, and you ain't gotta worry about no problems. You know what I'm saying? If you come over here, just know, just don't bring your drama with you. I don't want it. Just leave that over there. Unless we're coaching, unless I'm coaching you, leave that over there. I don't want your problems. I don't want none of your drama. I don't. You know what I'm saying? Because just because life is peaceful over here, don't mean I ain't got things I gotta focus on. I got things I gotta take care of too. You know what I'm saying? I got people that I gotta take care of. But my overall, boy is happy. I'm healthy. I'm living good. And I'm breathing. And I woke up today. and I'm valid in real life. You know what I'm saying? Make sure y'all hit up Remy for this hoodie. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Remy for the hoodie. Shout out to Aki God for the necklace. You know what I'm saying? Make sure you guys hit them up. Support. Make sure y'all go to Amazon and grab my book, The Mirror Labyrinth. Because if you want to talk about truth and want to talk about some real truth, go grab yourself a copy. It's available on Amazon right now. It's called The Mirror Labyrinth. This thing will definitely give you the truth that you need. Okay? Go grab yourself a copy. Show it again. The Mirror Labyrinth. It's from your boy Emmanuel. It's from me. Make sure you grab yourself a copy. The book itself is raw. It's uncut. It's the truth. Can't hide from it. Stop hiding from the truth. Be honest with yourself. And the truth is, our parents didn't know a lot of things, but they did the best that they could. Okay? We have to be real with ourselves on that. But it's now, as adults, it's our responsibility to heal, to be better. That way we're not passing all that shit down to our children. In a world full of negativity, make sure y'all choose love and love on purpose. Keep life simple. Love is the glue. Respect is the flavor. You dig. Make sure y'all live within your value energy, and I pity the fool